Hi, just in time for your Cancer July 2020 reading. Great to see the subscribers back. In fact, I've been doing meditation here for the subscribers. And you will, as a result, when you watch this, be feeling a great degree of peace and comfort and strength that is being sent your way. While I was meditating, a thunderstorm went through, and so I expect we shall have rain any minute. And I like doing readings in the rain anyway, as long as I'm under cover, of course. And in fact, I've done a number of readings for some of you, haven't I, during last month's in between last month's reading and today. And thank you also for referring me to your friends. I do appreciate that. If you would like to have a personal reading, then just check out the information in the description box below. Anyway, I use a lot of astrology in my tarot readings. Well, this month we also have, on some of the cards, Chinese I Ching, as well as Nordic runes. There's the Hanged Man, and ancient Hebrew biblical letters which have things to say. There is Radha, the daughter of wands in the east, and that was the Hanged Man, of course. This is the Ace of Wands in the east. Gee, these look like good cards for you, I have to say. We shall see. I don't want to preempt anything here because it depends on these last two cards and what comes through as well. I feel a particular affinity for Cancer. Cancer women are always so beautiful, aren't they, I think. There's the Empress. Well, it's hard to beat the Empress for a Cancer. And there is the Chariot. Well, there's those runes and letters and... Any I Ching anywhere? Not in your reading. Okay. Let's get this underway now and do the reading and see what is in store for you this July. Okay, can you see? Now, these playing cards are here just for energy. We're, of course, dealing only with the tarot cards for you, and here's great Cancer energy here and lots of water around as well. Fantastic for you. I'm so excited that you've got this as the central energy. Let's have a look at it. This is the Ace of Wands. Well, this is an unusual depiction of the Ace of Wands, isn't it? It's really the lignum, this phallic-looking stone, and the yoni, the pool of water. This is the male and female aspects of God mixing on the Ace of Wands. Now, do you know, other than in the Abrahamic religions, that of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, other religions, and in particular Hinduism, Buddhism, and actually lately, I suppose, there's a movement in Christianity to see God as being both male and female. It was, of course, the patriarchal culture of the Middle East that saw God being anthropologically, personified as being in a masculine form. But of course, God is beyond anything that we are able to understand. And one might say that God is neither male nor female, but you can also say that God is both male and female. But here we have an Ace of Wands, and what a particular thing here, in the suit of fire. Now, I think what is important to say about this Ace for you, and given the situation that it's here placed, is that, I feel that Leo and Virgo are going to be important to you, as well as this applying directly to you, Cancer. I see this all over you as well. Of course, in the suit of Wands, which is the Flames suit, this is really the Lord of the root of the power of fire, and it symbolizes the other fire signs of Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And so those astrological signs will have some of a relationship to you this month. The Aries aspect will provide you with leadership and desire, the Leo aspect with character and energy, and the Sagittarius aspect with insight and probably philosophical leanings, I say. This is the creative spark. This is a new start for you. It could well signify a passionate union, and you will feel your vital life sources surging. This is such a brilliant card. It represents a time in your life when you have a breakthrough moment, I feel. Really a breakthrough moment. And you are inspired and motivated to move your life forward. And I feel that there's going to be a big opportunity opening up for you. You have the possibility, because the aces are about potential, of tapping into your latent potential. It's the perfect time to draw up your imagination and make your dreams happen. Spiritually, this may well be a time to rewrite your life. I think that there may well be a deep spiritual desire for self-discovery, and this of course can apply to anybody who is 80 as much as anybody who is 18. Let's look at this Empress card, shall we, and see what it has to say. Here we go. The Empress. Beautiful looking card, I think, isn't it? The Empress. Earth is really what I'm getting. Below the eye, at the top of this card, is a woman. And behind the woman is a doorway symbolizing culture. The open door is scaled. You see how these sort of scales are on it here? Like a fish. And the archway above it takes the form that suggests a church or religion. Now the woman stands on a crescent that floats in the water. She holds a scepter topped with a pine cone and a snake that wraps around her arm. The snake represents transformation and enlightenment. A band of light is around her head, and a golden bird, you might just be able to make it out there, is flying towards her as if to bring word of heaven. Now here's one of these runes, right? Now I talked about the Norse runes. This rune here is, if my memory serves me, it's Thursaz, which kind of means like a thorn. It deals with reactive force or directed force of destruction and defense, instinctual will, vital eroticism, and a regenerative catalyst it is. There is a tendency towards change when this comes up, a sort of a catharsis, a purging, a cleansing fire. There's also a lot of male sexuality around here, and fertilization. Now, if we look at this Hebrew letter that's here, this actually is, looking at here, this Hebrew letter itself means door. It is the letter of Dalet, which is the word in the ancient Hebrew for door or a gate, and indicates resistance and a state of selflessness and humility which is needed to pass through it. It indicates how to pass through the gates, to know one's own mystery of being and return to the power of the one source of all creation and being. Now, it's in the sort of the shape of a bent-over man, isn't it? And I think that signifies the humility and receptiveness which is necessary to attract good things towards you. I think it also represents structure. Its form of a horizontal and a vertical line represents a sort of a grid, giving structure to the form. It's shaped like a stair step, the structure and overcoming of resistance needed to learn things. All in all, I think what this card is saying is that this is going to be a period of some change for you here, and I'm noting here that there is also, on the same line as it, this card of Cancer, this Chariot which is over here. This is saying to me that this is a time when you are likely to become either a maternal or because this thing is bringing in male sexuality to be either a maternal or paternal figure to somebody, or you may be exploring a relationship with your mother or a father, or a maternal or a paternal figure. I think it's also a time when some people are liable to come towards you and seek out your advice as to how to sort out their emotional problems or their practical affairs, and that you are acting as a sort of a counselor, as a sort of a parent to them. Really do have that feeling that's coming through there. I think it's also a time here of great fertility, and so you are liable to find out about children or good news in relation to children. Let's have a look at this, another card here which has got water, great for you, Cancer, all over it. Now this is governed by Neptune, which is the watery planet. So what do we have here? Which is also about breaking boundaries, I might say, and also realization of things, of being somewhat unconventional and of discovering truth. So it's a great thing for you to be doing this month. I think you might also unearth some secrets, it has to be said. But here we have the figure of, well, this would be Odin, because there's a very Germanic and Viking aspect to this card here. This is Odin, the king of the gods. Why is he hanging upside down? But he has the traditional crossed leg here. He's hanging from this tree. Now this is in Norse mythology, the world tree. The king of the gods is Odin, and he had plucked out one of his eyes at one time in order to obtain wisdom. But then he wanted to find out what the runes meant, and this is a rune here. They are the alphabet today. The Elder Futhark is the alphabet of the Vikings, I suppose we'd say, what they meant. And so he spent 9 days and 9 nights without eating or drinking in order to, staring into a well, incidentally, a well which contained 3 women called the Norns, who wove the fates of humankind as well as the gods themselves, interestingly. And staring into that well, at the end of 9 days and 9 nights, the runes floated to the surface and he could make them out. Well, this hanged man here is obviously of that Scandinavian myth. The rainbow implies, let's pull it out a bit here. The rainbow implies water, I think, as well. Good for you. And its colors also correspond on the hanged man's body to the chakras, the yogic points of energy in the human physique. The hanged man's hair appear to merge into the ground like the roots of a tree. On one side shines a crescent moon, which you can see here. And what else have we got here? And it's also reminiscent of the High Priestess, I'd say, that crescent moon. And on the other side appears Odin's twin ravens, Human and Moomin, who are thought and memory. Ravens signify death and thus bring information from the other worlds. Seeing as we're on the subject of runes, let's have a look to see what this one is and see what it has to say for you. Now this rune is known as Tiwaz. Actually, it has a reference to the sky god. It talks about honor, justice, leadership, and authority. Analysis and rationality as well, and knowing where your true strengths lie. It also means that there will be, I think for you, a willingness to sacrifice. And I think it means also that there will be victory and success in any competition that's going on at the moment. Now you see this symbol here? This is an ancient biblical Hebrew letter. It is the letter Mem, M-E-M. The letter Mem, I'll pull that out again for you. The letter Mem is water. strictly, the waters of wisdom, knowledge, and of sacred scripture. It represents both waters and manifestation. It is the ability to dive deep into the wisdom. It is said that in every person is the thirst for the words of the Creator, which are the waters of life. Now, the open mem refers to the revealed aspects of providence, while the closed mem refers to the concealed part of the celestial rule that nonetheless guides us and all of existence. Mem also represents the time necessary for ripening and indicates to you the importance of balanced emotions and humility. So the mem really teaches you about balanced emotions, balancing the watery motions of your feeling. And it is about humility, because water is the substance that always runs downhill to the lowest place, isn't it? Yeah, very much this influence here of Neptune in here. I refer to this card really as the spirit of the mighty waters. A lot of Neptune. There's also an association with Venus for me in this card because of all of this green color, because esoterically Venus is about love and beauty and also about things happening in a business sense. I think this is saying that you will obtain new perspectives on things. There will be an ability for you also to experience a change, a metamorphosis. Perhaps the end of a situation or relationship which has become stuck and sees you letting go or giving up for gain, surrendering, learning to see in a new way the necessity of breaking through old behavioral patterns. I think it's also the case here that there is the opportunity to redeem yourself in a situation that has turned sour. You now have the opportunity to put things right, bringing light down into darkness, or bringing light onto something. This is a figure also which to me speaks of the enlightened descending into the unenlightened. Now, this energy here implies, because of its watery nature, that emotions are like water and should flow. And you can have redemption or repair of a situation that is related to an emotional event or any transgressions that you have made. And really breaking through stuck fixed perspectives. This is also talking to me, for you, about you losing emotional ties to guilt from past events. So really a time to free yourself up from guilt or blame. Have this thought in mind. I value breaking ineffective old patterns. I trust and have deep faith in the essence of who I am. I surrender to the higher path and to God's will. Now let's have a look at this beautiful woman who is here. This is the Hindu goddess Radha. Radha is one of the goddesses in Hinduism. Incidentally, Hinduism is actually monotheistic. There is just one God in Hinduism, but in order to, and of course it's transcendent and very difficult for us to wrap our minds around. So culturally, the way that people in the East, as people have done elsewhere, is to create other sort of God images. They should be seen as aspects of God, I suppose. And they put form and pictures around them in order to help them relate to it. It doesn't matter where all the rivers are on the earth. They all end up in the sea. Now, Radha is traditionally worshipped as the goddess of love, tenderness, compassion, and devotion. She is the eternal concept of the Lord Krishna. Krishna is the person who spoke the Bhagavad Gita, and otherwise just known as the Gita, G-I-T-A, and I recommend that you just look it up on the internet, and in particular chapter 7 of that book, which talks about the attributes of God. It's actually really good. And so she is the eternal concept of the Lord Krishna. I think she's the personification really of complete devotion unto Sri Krishna, and is revered as the epitome of selfless love and service towards Krishna. She is also considered by some as the feminine form of Krishna himself. But enough of that. What can we say about... Oh, there's actually something interesting to say about her. Just looking at the image here, I can see now she is the daughter of Wands. Wands is the suit of fire. Here she has a flute. Like Krishna, he had a flute. They were young and in love and playing music and what have you. But what the flute does, it is transforming the power of wands into music. Now, Radha's flute blends the colors of the rainbow. The red dot on her forehead, I think, really talks about, it's a symbol of holiness and life. And the 3 stones on her forehead, you can see them here, 1, 2, 3. Those 3 stones, I think, signify sensuality, motherhood, and wisdom. Quite a beautiful image, I think you'll agree. Well, I have to say that there's a lot of Cancer in this card as well, and there's also Virgo and Leo here, just as there was in that ace. So I do think that those signs are going to be important to you during this period. She really is, for me, the princess of the shining flame, the rose of the palace of fire. I think she's a person of omnivorous passion in whatever kind of work or activity she decides to take, and she can be kind of reckless in obtaining gratification and can sometimes be unstable. So she is, I think, a young woman. Well, that could be a man, because these core cards are interchangeable. But she's certainly, I think, a young woman who's energetic, individualistic, brilliant and daring and expressive, very expressive in love and in anger. The character is one where she's extremely individual. She creates her own beauty by her essential vigor and energy. She bedazzles. In anger or in love, she is sudden, violent, and implacable. She is ambitious, and sometimes she is irrationally enthusiastic about people or projects. She never forgets an injury. The only patience to be found in her is the patience with which she lies in ambush, waiting to exact her revenge. So I think this represents a person who is confident, daring, exciting, nonconformist, freedom-loving, and ambitious. People are going to love your character and energy during this time. Now be careful, because you could be vengeful or temperamental. And this card, I think, in this position here means that you will be conquering old fears and patterns of thought. You've brought them to the surface. You are going to bring them to the surface, and you are going to conquer them. Although it has to be said that you have often learned your lessons the hard way, haven't you? Really, what is the next step in your life? Find it fearlessly. Learn about ways of transforming fearful feelings. And have this thought in mind: my greatest strength is, and then you fill in the space and say, as I accept my fear, it is transformed into love. Well, then that takes us to the final card, which has definitely got Cancer written all over it. And this is the card of the Chariot. Well, Chariot governed by your sign, Cancer. Well, this is quite an unusual looking chariot, isn't it, here? It's a boat with wheels and it rushes through a rough sea. The boat is red, which I think is the colour of energy, and a red glow surrounds the figure in the boat. Now above is a mythical beast that seems to be half wild boar and half wolf, and it signifies your deepest fears, your unnameable and wild parts. Now this rune that's here, I take this to mean that I'm looking at Hagalas, which is about hail, almost like a wrath of nature, and you see it coming in here, destructive, uncontrollable forces, especially the weather or within the unconscious. A tempering, testing trial or a controlled crisis leading to completion, but ultimately one that brings about inner harmony for you. Now this symbol here is also a letter Heth. It's the 8th letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and I think it represents infinite possibilities. It is undifferentiated substance and energy containing all the possibilities that could come into being. Heth indicates the ability of you to rise and go beyond nature. It is related to your soul. It represents the power of choice, which is given by the soul, as well as the qualities of charm and grace which stem from your soul. It's kind of like a revolving gateway, a power to enter a higher level, to enter the mysteries of your soul, and then to return to worldly consciousness. It is the essence of the human being to break through nature to spiritual realization. Now, it's also the word for prophecy in a way here, so I think you could well have some degree of psychic awareness about you. Yes, we have here the child of the powers of water, the lord of the triumph of light. This is talking about for you victory over adversity. You've come through a difficult period, haven't you? But you're going to overcome it, because it's going to be about you having the courage to act. It's about success over previous negative patterns. Maybe something of a focus on self-discipline here. Maybe even a period of rest and contemplation, but it's definitely moving towards higher ground. There's no doubt about that. I think what we can see here is that the oncoming change that's coming into your life promises to lead to a positive phase of your life. Now ready yourself, put your affairs in order, examine the possibilities. You may well leave a lot behind. What area of your life will need changing? Are you ready to throw out the old and bring in the new? Seek or create for yourself a loving, secure environment. There you can plan the change or journey. I think your body might also need attention and activity now. Have this thought in mind. I am putting my life in order and preparing for the new beginning. I motivate others positively. I am responsible for what I cause, and I accomplish things well and with ease. That's the way it is for you this month. Well, there you go, the month of July 2020, and it looks as if there's going to be great things in store for you, and that's great to hear because you deserve good things to happen to you. You certainly do. Look, you were fantastic during that reading, as you always are, and really, there's really only one thing left for me to say, and it is this, that you are a legend, and I look forward to seeing you again next month. Until then, it's bye for now.